Yeah, before we even take a client on, part of what we do is we do an hour strategy session with them to understand where are they going, what are they trying to accomplish, what do they want to do. And if you're listening to the podcast and go, well, I haven't thought about that in a long time, it's okay. We just want you to start thinking at that higher level and figure out what is that going to be for you. And it changes over time. It's such a wonderful thing to watch owners really figure out where they are going and what they want to accomplish. So we sit in a really unusual position because we work ourselves out of a job if we've done it correctly. The lifetime value of our clients is typically 3 to 5 years because they've either hired their own CFO or they've done their exit plan or both. So, because you can do an exit plan and still have a business. And some owners are like, what do you mean? You just pay somebody else to run it for you. You can still reap all the benefits. You don't have to sell to reap the benefits of your business. There's all kinds of ways to do it. We're there to help you accomplish however you see that for you.
Well, you mentioned you integrate the EOS, right? And I've heard it a lot, and I've heard some summaries of it before, but maybe there's others out there who are similar or have even heard about it less. What is that? Really, what is that, and how does it help companies? And then what additional layers do you bring in beyond that?
Yeah, so we've got some great implementers in town for EOS. Shay Peffley, Jeanette Wade, John Gross are just a few of the names. There's several here now. And they are what we call implementers. So implementers actually meet with you once a quarter to go through what your plans are, talk about issues and the things that have been happening in the company. EOS is a system that holds people accountable, make sure you've got the right people in the right seats, and make sure that you are accomplishing your goals every 7 days, 90 days, annually, 3 years, 10 years. What's that 10-year vision you have?
It's almost like I sit here and think a coach, a personal mentor coach you might have for your career, and just bringing that in. Now you're not meeting with them weekly or monthly, but bringing that in for the business side of things. And
it's like a quarterly checkup almost, right?
Yeah. And I would imagine for, life is crazy busy anyway, but especially for small business owners who are wearing many hats and hoping to grow out of some of those hats, but wearing many hats, that to have that accountability partner. And again, not only as to what you do, hey, we've got the ideas, go do it. Instead, I'm going to help you come in and implement it. That's got to be life-changing.
It is. It's really life-changing, and it's simple, but it's hard. Simple, but it's hard. And one of the things EOS really stresses is simplifying processes, making things simple as owners. Because remember, I'm an owner of my own business. We tend to complicate things, not on purpose, but we do. And I tell people I'm a recovering perfectionist and control freak. There's hope for everybody. EOS says get it 80% right and move on. It's done at 80%. I'm going to say that again. It's done at 80% because if you've covered the 80%, the other 20 will fix itself, and you need to make a decision and move on.
And isn't I'm recovering, rehabilitating myself, still learning perfectionist. That's, you go to school, A+ or A's. If you get anything wrong, you get all those red marks, and it's all about getting it perfect when life is so much. It's not necessarily the opposite, but it's not that hardcore. Did I get the A+ perfectionism? And that's hard to shake, I think.
Yeah, we work with it really is. We work with a lot of professional service companies, and the first thing we say to them is your good is somebody else's great, and you've got to start teaching your employees good is good enough because it is excellent work. It doesn't have to be perfect. And that's really one of the biggest things we see in productivity for professional services. Too long to complete a project because they're trying to get every single little thing right. And the person on the other side is never going to see the value in that. So it's like get the big things right and then move on.
So if you are a business owner or you're moving forward in your career or whatever might be in front of you, know that perfection sometimes just shoving the things into a closet really fast before you host that family party is good enough.
Yes.
Come back to it later. Not that I've ever done that.
Close
clearly.
the bedroom doors.
There you go. We can all learn from this, mostly me. And so I find it fascinating. What are some of the maybe biggest mistakes that you see business owners make, or ways they think about the financial side of profits and scaling business and cash flow?
So they should be looking at sales once a week. Sales pipeline is critical to any business. A sales pipeline, if you're listening to this podcast and you haven't heard that term before, that is your golden book. That says, what sales do I have that are coming up I haven't closed on yet? What's the probability I'm going to close on those sales? That probability number is super important because you need to make some decisions around that. If the probability of closing a sale is 50% or less, you probably shouldn't be spending a lot of time on it, because you are wasting time you could be spending on other opportunities. They may fit much better in what it is in what you do. So I always recommend, especially when you start building a sales team, or if you're still the salesperson, you've got to have that pipeline so people can do workforce planning. Your accountant knows what cash is possibly coming in the door. That is like one of the most important things that you can do. And there's so many softwares you can use now for a pipeline. There's limitless numbers out there. It's really important to get those numbers out of your head so people can see and use them and give you great advice. You want your team to be giving you advice about what they see, think, and do and can do about what you've got. So, I am an entrepreneur, so I have my weekly meetings with my team, and I come up with all kinds of ideas, and sometimes they're like, sorry, I don't think that should be this quarter, and here's why. And if you've got good team members, you need to listen to them. So, I know there's no owners out there that squirrel at all. And so if you have good team members, they can keep you from squirreling. It doesn't mean that idea doesn't get put on the back burner, or maybe you can do something with it later, but really listen to your team. That was my biggest lesson. I didn't have to have all the answers. I could give things to team members. They're not going to do it the way I do it, and that's okay. And I'm going to say that again because I had a really hard time with that for a long time. They're not going to do it the way you do it, and that's okay, as long as it gets done.